All right. When and where were you born?
Houston, Texas, November 11th, 1968.
All right. Are your parents from Texas as well? And if so, how did they get here?
My dad is originally from Spring, Texas, just north of Houston, and my mother is from Fifth Ward, Texas, here in Houston as well.
All right. What made you choose to go to Texas Southern University?
I wanted to study at HBCU, and initially I started out at Prairie View.
Prairie View. What made you?
Went to Yates High School.
Yates High School.
And I started out at Prairie View and University.
What made you transfer over?
Didn't perform very well, and my parents moved me home to Texas Southern.
Wow, okay. What did you study while you were at Texas Southern University?
I have an undergraduate degree in business management and a master's degree in transportation and planning management.
All right, cool. Did you study the same thing at Prairie View as well, or?
I started out as a computer science major, moved into business.
All right, cool. What were your most significant moments while attending TSU?
I worked on campus in the main library as a work study student, so I was always kind of around. My dad was actually a professor, long-time professor here at Texas Southern in the chemistry department. I pledged Omega Psi Phi fraternity here in Texas Southern in spring '90. During the time that I was here, the basketball team made it to the NCAA, where we played Georgetown. So that was pretty significant against Alonzo Mourning and Patrick Ewing and that group when they played at Georgetown. Outside of that, just enjoying the Black College experience.
And how long did your dad teach here?
He taught here for well over 30 years.
30 years, wow. That's amazing. Can you describe how the campus was how it was then and how it is now? Like, what's the difference?
Newer buildings, nicer landscaping. That's about it. I grew up here, been here my whole life with my dad.
So the student body's been the same.
Since I was born, so I've seen the Tiger Walk when it was actually real, where you can drive through the campus. So I mean, I've seen all the changes from me growing up here in the early '70s till now.
Right. And I forgot what I was about to ask you. But let's go to it. I might come back to it. Do you believe that HBCUs are important? Why or why not?
I think they are very important, and that's one major factor. A lot of my friends that have gone to Texas A&M and to a lot of the other colleges and everything, just like at Prairie View, you get a hands-on. The teachers, professors really care about the student. It's more of a family-oriented environment. Whereas a lot of people I know that go to the larger schools all over the country don't really get that connection.
Who will you identify as like a significant role model in your lifetime?
It would have to be my dad and practically everyone in the chemistry department at Texas Southern. Outside of that, born and raised in Willa Avenue, right here in Third Ward. So all the youth ministers. I'm also an Eagle Scout that came from Willa Avenue. So my scouting program. Again, I went to Yates High School, so many of my teachers and coaches and band teachers and things like that. And then just the many people I consider to be my big brothers, 2 or 3 years older than me, will always kind of make sure I walked in the straight line, and then the fraternity as a whole.
You said your father was a significant role model in your life. How did he prepare you for where you are now?
Stressing education. My mother was a retired educator in a Houston Independent School District. My dad taught here for many years, and I have an older sister, and they both just preached the importance of education and having something to fall back on.
What do you remember about your childhood growing up?
As far as here at Texas Southern or the community, because I'm probably here at Third Ward, I practically grew up here every summer. I attended the enrichment programs, the sporting and events, because he often taught school, so I was always here with him.
Mhm.
So between that and growing up at my church at Will Avenue around the corner, just continuously enrichment and learning type programs.
All right. Did your parents bring up the topic of race or racism with you?
No.
No. Um, how do you interact with people of different cultural backgrounds and ethnicities?
They didn't talk about it or preach it,
Mm-hmm.
but they grew up in the 50s and 60s, so I learned just from hearing their stories and taking history classes and things like that. But you just learn to treat everyone equal, and over time I have dealt with it out in the professional world.
Mm-hmm.
But again, just the morals that you learn growing up. Again, I was in Cub Scouts,
Mm-hmm.
Boy Scouts, so I interacted with them at that level. And I played in the marching band at Yates, so we often did competition where we would see schools from various parts of the country, and you just learn to treat everyone equal.
What moment in American history sticks out most in your memory?
American history?
Yeah.
For me, the most devastating thing to happen was 9/11. It kind of ties into what I've been saying all along as far as education is concerned. I've been working for Continental Airlines at that point for about 15 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
And due to people scared to fly and less travel, the companies had to downsize
Mm-hmm.
because the economy had fallen because of people not flying. I got caught up in a layoff for an 8-month period, but because I had a master's degree, I was able to find a job a lot quicker than a lot of those that did not have at least that undergrad or nothing at all. So that was probably the most devastating thing, but that was a prime example of how education could work somewhere in your life. You just never know when things are going to happen.
Yeah. During this event, where were you? How did you respond, and how did people around you respond?
It was mad chaos. Again, I was working at Continental Airlines.
Mm-hmm.
It was noted that the airplanes had run into the World Tower.
Mm-hmm.
Continental downtown Houston had a large tower. So not knowing what was going on, they released everyone to go home if you didn't feel comfortable in the building. And I left, and like everyone else, watched CNN the rest of the day. It was just in total amaze of what was going on.
Wow. I don't blame you for going home. What advice would you give young people today?
I give advice, especially now as a professor here at TSU, to not settle for just a bachelor's degree.
Mm-hmm.
All the classes that I'm teaching, I'm saying at least get a master's or higher. I share with them my experience of not being a great student early on, and to just stick it out. And at some point in the future, it will pay off.